We booked the Traverton Hotel with Expedia.com, and it was only $52 a night including breakfast and all mod cons. Breakfast was good, and the open-air restaurant overlooked the travertines, the terraces of calcium deposits. It was hot, so the pool was nice to use as well. We were only one of 3 private visitors, so all the rest of the guests were from tour companies. We started our visit to Pamukkale with a walk around the town, which only has a population of 2,500, so it doesn't take long before you've walked past every place 3 times over.
Is that right? But he's got his head off.
The next morning we started our slow climb of the famous travertines. Admission is $20 per person, and it's an easy climb, so shorts and jandals were the footwear of choice. Well, it was for me anyway. Pamukkale was granted UNESCO World Heritage status in 1988, and it's Western Antolia's biggest tourist drawcard, with over 1 million visitors annually. Ever since the pink and white terraces were destroyed by a volcano eruption at Rotorua in New Zealand in 1886, these travertines are the only ones like it in the world today. For thousands of years, visitors have extolled the healing powers of Pamukkale's calcium-rich hot springs, which created a unique snow-white landscape of terrace pools and petrified waterfalls as the spring water cascaded down the hillside. It wasn't always as nice as this in recent times. In the 70s and 80s, irresponsible tourism itself caused these springs to almost stop springing, and the unrefreshed pools turned a dingy grey. But thanks to UNESCO in 1988, this wonder of the world was rescued from human destruction by having hotels responsible for the water draw-off demolished. And now the pools are maintained to prevent algae from discolouring the glistening white surfaces. Therefore, you're only allowed to walk in bare feet on the calcium surfaces in order to protect them. There are 2 ways to access the travertines, either from the top or from the bottom of the hill. Most tourists come in from the top where the tourist buses park, and they come in from nearby Denizli, a large city. By staying in Pamukkale and walking in from the bottom, you can avoid the huge crowds.
You can always tell the Japanese tourists, they're fully clothed, and the Italian tourists, they've got practically nothing on at all.
top of the travertines are the hot pools and Hierpolis. A lot of tourists come to Pamukkale to see the travertines and bathe in the hot pools, but don't realise that the Hierpolis is there to see as well. You need a full half day to see everything. People of all shapes and sizes come here to take advantage of the imagined healing powers of the pools, which are at about 36 degrees centigrade. The ruins of the Hierpolis brilliantly evoke life in the early centuries of the modern era. Here, pagan, Roman, Jewish and early Christian elements evolved into a distinctly Anatolian whole. This archaeologist's reconstruction shows the city in its former glory. We walked up from Pamukkale town centre, past the travertines, then past the Temple of Nymphium and the Temple of Apollo up to the theatre. From the theatre, we walked to the south gate, then back along the tops of the travertines and back down to Pamukkale. We only saw the Agora, the martyrium of St. Philip the Apostle, and the other ruins from a distance because only the foundations are standing. The rest of the buildings have collapsed and are lying on the ground. Hierpolis was subject to numerous recurrent earthquakes and regularly brought disaster. After a major tremor in 1334, the city was abandoned and never rebuilt. The spectacular Roman theatre holds more than 12,000 spectators and was built in 2 stages by Emperors Hadrian and Septimus Severus. Much of it survived over the years and parts were restored by Italian stonecutters of the Italian Archaeological Mission. From the theatre you get excellent views of the surrounding area. Hierpolis was founded in 190 BC by Eumenes II, king of Pergamon. It was a cure centre that prospered under the Romans and even more under the Byzantines when it gained a large Jewish community and an early Christian congregation. Judging from the size of the necropolis or cemetery, it seems that local healers of the cure centre had mixed results. In the distance we saw this massive structure, so we thought it must house a really important archaeological find, so we headed over to it via the south gate. It turned out it was just a bus shelter for tourists, so a bit of a letdown considering it was a walk of about 1 kilometre in 40 degrees temperature. With that we decided to call it a day and have a dip in the travertines and head back down to our car and then off to Bodrum.
Okay. What'd you say?
Yours looks great because it's infinity.
Right. Oh, well, you need the camera then.
left Pamukkale at midday, the checkout time, and by 2 p.m. we were at Kali, so pulled in for a kebab. Kali has a population of 7,000. There was quite a crowd at the outside food court, and the children were fascinated at seeing us tourists. We were like a rare species to them. By 3 p.m. we had reached Molass, but we decided to give the castle visit a miss because we've seen many similar ones. Soon we were driving down the Aegean coast, and by 3:38 p.m. we were on the outskirts of Bodrum. Accommodation was tight at Bodrum because it was Ramadan feast day number 1, so we used the Lonely Planet book to try and find some accommodation. We hadn't pre-booked for this night because we didn't know if we were going to make it as far as Bodrum today. Lillian went out on foot to search for a place to stay, which turned out to be the Barjali Aga Ale Pension, which had one room left at the rip-off price of $120, and for that we had to use a communal bathroom and toilet as well. A pension is a sort of bed and breakfast arrangement. Our first stop after checking in that evening was the Hierpolis Mausoleum, said to be one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. This spot was founded 3,100 years ago by the ancient kingdom of Caria, which eventually got absorbed into the Persian Empire. During the time of Alexander, a famous leader, Mausoleus, designed his tomb in conjunction with Pythios, the man behind the Temple of Athena at Priena. The mausoleum, an enormous white marbled tomb, became one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world and stood intact for 1,900 years until it was broken up by the Crusaders in 1522.
She built a great mausoleum in Halicarnassos.
August the 30th was our wedding anniversary, and in celebration we splashed out on dinner that night.
You enjoying
My wedding anniversary? Yes.
You realise I'm spending a grand total of $5.60 on us both. Because your dinner night out.
Don't say you don't get spoiled.
No. So, don't say I don't spoil you. What's that?
Just looking at the size of it.
Bon appetit. How many years of marriage? 30. Too many, yeah. Well, our wedding anniversary. Did you enjoy the dinner?
No.
Nah, but it was cheap though. $4.90 for the 2 of us, including with water.
One of the scungiest meals. Well, the scungiest actually.
The scungiest meal we've had on an anniversary ever. That'd be right too.
And we have had some scungy meals.
We have, yeah.
Last year in Syria was scungy.
Oh, disgusting.
Here we are.
Here we are.
I can't complain about the setting.
No.
Just the food.
We could have gone to Burger King for our wedding anniversary dinner.
Always clever after the fact.
That's life.
Bodrum is a quaint seaport and resort with a population of 30,000. Our friends recommended we go there, but at this time of the year it's expensive.
So what do you think of Bodrum?
Oh, it's a lovely place, but the prices are just absolutely through the roof. Not only is this a rip-off town, but it's carnival at the moment as well, so everything is about double. Every time I put my hand in my pocket and pull out my wallet, I feel like I've actually been stabbed in the eye with a chopstick.
It must hurt.
Oh, you know, it's the worst thing about spending.
Been very painful.
It's the most painful thing in my life.
I'm sure.
The Bodrum Museum of Underwater Archaeology gives you a big bang for your buck. Here, you get to see a stack of old stuff inside, including the castle. We saw more than 20 points of interest in the museum and hundreds of artefacts, and it's well worth a 1-hour visit, which we're going to cover here in 4 minutes. For history haters, this would be the perfect time to excuse yourself and take a toilet break.
This is the coat of arms.
Starting with the amphorae, this collection is the largest in the world, collected from shipwrecks of southwest Turkey, with some dating back to 1400 BC. This quince tree originates from Crete and is said to strengthen the heart when drunk as a mixture of quince flowers and honey. This is a 2,000-year-old Roman bronze anchor, as new. These glass artefacts date back 3,500 years and are recovered from shipwrecks. These cacti are used as notepads. This is a sphinx, 2,353 years old. The restored Roman theatre seats 13,000 people and is cut into the hillside. This is a fine example of a 53-year-old artefact sitting on a stone seat.
Hey, here's a cannon. I've got a cannon too. It's not as big as this one though. It's called a camera.
This English tower was built during the reign of King Henry IV of England, complete with a coat of arms. This is a collection of Bronze Age shipwrecks, with one dating back 3,400 years, one of the oldest excavated shipwrecks in the world, dated using tree ring dating methods. Went down into the dungeons, which were quite scary. The Gatineau Tower was constructed by Jacques Gatineau in 1512. He was the commander of Bodrum Castle. It was used for torture. Today, if you want to be tortured, all you have to do is get married. These are the public toilets, very public. Snake Tower was used as a hospital and dates back to Byzantine times. More amphorae, 3,400 years old. This is a full-size replica of a shipwreck. castle, constructed in 1406 by the Knights of St John, was then converted to a mosque in 1523. This is a mulberry tree from China with a Romeo and Juliet story behind it. And with that, we left Bodrum and moved on to our next destination.